I might need to put a headset on.
Santa Claus with the headset? I don't know.
I know. Definitely strange, right?
Cartoon avatar. Okay, hold on. Let me attach the file.
This is more about introducing more and more community members to other community members and kind of keeping that community vibe going. So that's kind of my thing for this, at least this first season, Jessica. I kind of was trying to figure out a way to do a podcast and create some seasons. This one was all about just introducing more people to the community and people we might know, people we might not know. And so I'm happy to have you on with me today to do that.
And I'm super thrilled to be here.
Well, let's do it officially. Who are you and why are you here? Why are you in Dynamics?
Okay. Well, first of all, my name is Jessica Jolly, and yes, I did marry into that name. And wait till you hear what my middle initial is. My middle initial, appropriate for this season, is B. So yes, it's a burden, but
Perfect.
somebody has to bear it.
Every holiday season, yep.
Every holiday season, I have to show up and show out.
Yep.
So yeah, this is actually a second career for me. I used to be a facilities manager for a very large consumer products company, and they had offices in Chicago where I lived, and so for many years I was a facilities manager, but they decided to close up their offices in the Chicagoland area and move everything to the East Coast. So when that happened, I had to decide, well, what am I going to do now? And I had been training people at my local public library on Microsoft Office, and I had really been enjoying that. So I thought, well, why don't I, pivot and see if I can make a living doing that. So in 2016, I got my first certifications and I incorporated, and I haven't looked back. So I do specialize in Power BI only because it's been a great niche. It's been a great thing to teach people. There's a lot of demand, and I enjoy it.
And so the people that were learning Microsoft Office, was it like a wide variety of folks, like people who kind of knew it and wanted to learn a little more, or like, I don't even know what this Microsoft Word thing is. Just, I just need to write some documents out.
Most of the time, it was people who recognized that their skills were not keeping up with the times, and so they were there to improve. It was interesting because I taught Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. And even though Word and PowerPoint have lots and lots of features, the one that always had a waiting list was Excel. People always wanted to come to the Excel class. So it was generally people who were trying to improve themselves. I would not say I had very many people who had never used it.
Okay. And that makes total sense. Like, Excel is like the fifth Beatle of ERPs. It's like it's like, oh, we got Dynamics and this, and now of course Excel is always over there as a financial system for somebody.
Right, exactly. Yeah, nothing will ever replace Excel. Nothing.
I don't think so.
No, it's here. It's here for good. What do they say? 1 billion people on the planet use it, or something like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's not a lobbyist group already out there just making sure there's no chance that Excel doesn't disappear. They're just up on the Hill constantly lobbying, politicians like, what, you want to talk to me about what? Excel?
Yeah. You can't take away my Excel. So
you can't take away my spreadsheet.
No, exactly. But Excel is it's a great product, and it does what it does extremely well. But once Power BI came on the scene, and this has taken some time, I would say. But lots of people have realized the limitations of Excel. I don't think people realize the limitations because they weren't dealing with big data. So a million rows seemed like, oh well, we'll never exceed 1 million rows, and come to find out, yes you will. So anyway,
always.
So a lot of the people I teach now are Excel power users or people who at least are pretty fluent in Excel, and they are
Mm-hmm.
now being tasked with migrating to Power BI. And so that's truly my target audience. Yes, I teach people who have database expertise and stuff like that, or developers, but they're not really my best audience because some of them are more technical than I am. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
big believer in, that adage of to those whom much is given, much is expected. And so I
Mm-hmm.
always make sure that for each year I have a not-for-profit that I do training pro bono. So for the last
Nice.
3 years, I've done Tech Fluent, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but I've
Mm-hmm.
also done, my daughter worked at a domestic violence agency here in Portland, so I did a series of trainings for them. I usually pick out a not-for-profit each year and then, deliver for them whatever training they need on things like that. So
Yeah.
this year I'm all in on Tech Fluent.
I love it. And I've not heard that adage, but I just talked to Tanya Henderson last week. Gal is in BC and does a lot in the community. And I think there's that inherent feeling that, I've been given 1,000 opportunities in life. I'm a privileged person to be able to do what I'm doing. And I've had all these open avenues and I'm always looking for ways to give back. And I feel like I've always got room to push things around. It's like, I could not sit on my butt and watch TV for this hour, instead do something over here that could benefit somebody. It's just, it's a matter of, pushing myself towards those opportunities and find the ones that really resonate with me too. Is fun. Like I said, I've friends who, a girlfriend here is local who runs a teen, like a high school for teen moms who, just to keep them in school.
Yeah.
Done a lot of work with them. I've done a lot of work with another nonprofit here that uplifts LGBTQ folks in Colorado through friendship. So there's some passion there. There's some personal connection too, which helps me to like you said, your daughter. Just you find ways to give back to folks that you're kind of with anyway, and help them in their endeavors. And they're doing it full time. Like these folks are there on the grind full time at these organizations, and I'm just able to provide whatever help I can outside of that.
Exactly. But, that's a very important idea for me is that, first of all, that adage of to those whom much is given, much is expected. So that's number one. And then number two, I'm a wholehearted, fully subscribed, drunk the Kool-Aid believer in a rising tide floats all boats. So any help that I give somebody else along their pathway to, career success and career satisfaction will eventually help me. Because the other expression that they say, which I now love, karma wants your address because she's coming for you. So if you don't, I love that, right? So,
that's great.
If you get, to a great degree, you get back what you give out. And
if you have a heavy knock on your door and you haven't given out, you better expect it's karma there waiting for you. Like,
yeah.
Oh,
I heard another great expression yesterday. It was so funny. I think it's Nigerian. It was, wisdom is chasing you, but you're faster.
That's cool because slow down sometimes in life. Yeah. And I'm going to jump real quickly just to point out that you are deep somewhere in the woods of Maine, and that's why we decided to keep you off camera, because you were disappearing in the ether of the digital world as the wind blew your internet connection. So when this goes to recording, people will be seeing a version of you, hopefully, if I get creative enough.
Oh my goodness!
We'll see how that works out.
I shudder to imagine. You're probably going to have me in a Santa hat and a reindeer. Oh my goodness!
I can't believe you put me in your hands like this. With it's like a mad scientist. I can't wait to get to the video editing software on this one. And we talked about this. You just, again, keeping on the personal side of things, you are a big knitter. Is that correct? Not crochet, but
Oh,
knitting.
both. So I knit. I
Both.
knit. Well, I don't. I know
Mm-hmm.
how to crochet. I don't do. If we had the camera
Okay.
turned on, which I'm glad we don't, because quite frankly, without a blur, nobody wants to look. But if it was on, you would see that I'm sitting with a sewing machine behind me, a sewing machine to
Mm-hmm.
my right, and a sewing machine to my left. I'm a huge quilter, which I
And boxes
love.
of fabric and yarn.
Oh, yes, tons of fabric, tons of yarn. But I loved when Microsoft announced that their newest sort of release was called Fabric. I was like, yes, this is me. So anyway,
Love it.
so those are kind
Yeah,
of my
I just
hobbies.
on my bucket list. Yeah, bucket list to learn how to do one of the two. I've tried, and my patience level, I need to get past the hump of
Yes.
the initial, and I need to just push through. Maybe this holiday season will be it. This might
Well,
be my
well,
opportunity to just sit there
yeah.
on the couch and watch a Christmas movie and just figure this out.
Well, yeah. So knitting, that's how I got to it because my mother-in-law um, sent my daughter a box and my daughter was 7, so she sent her a box for Christmas, had knitting needles, a knitting book, and some yarn in it. And of course, my daughter was not in the least bit interested. So I picked it up that day and but my daughter's 33 now, so do the math. I have been
Mm-hmm.
knitting for that long and I love it. I
Right?
love it. So
Nice.
I recommend it
Cool. Well,
highly, my friend.
I keep forgetting, and it's something I want to incorporate in. If you haven't seen Rachel Profit, I'm trying to bring with me a little bit more inclusiveness into my interactions moving forward in the new year. And so to that end, Rachel Profit always opens her podcast and anything she does with an introduction that introduces herself to people who may be visually impaired, just to so everybody has a feel for what's going on. And so I'm going to introduce myself today. I'm wearing a Santa hat. I'm a white male, middle-aged. I've got a plaid jacket on that Jessica astutely pointed out that had to be thrifted, which it was from my local and fit off the rack, which was just also awesome. I've got a black t-shirt on and a beard, and I go by he, him, and I'm happy to be here with everybody today.
All right, I've never done this. This is very cool. Okay, so I'm a white female, early 60s. That means I have a lot of gray hair, pretty much mostly gray now, or silver as I like to call it.
I like silver. That's a good compromise in the way you're presenting it. I want to go all silver, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's and apparently amongst the girlies, going silver is like a thing. I'm like, okay, people are paying to
do
go
it.
silver. Wait a minute, because just wait a minute and you'll be there. But anyway, so and I am wearing a bright teal, almost like a peacock teal, blue shirt that I bought at the Santa Barbara Botanic Garden that has hummingbirds, and I love
Ooh.
it. And then I'm wearing a scarf to disguise my little wobbly chin, my chicken neck. So they're going to have a very visual picture of me. And
Yep.
then and I'm wearing a black cashmere vest that was my dad's, because it's kind of the perfect layer so that you're warm but you're not too warm. So
Yeah, and you told me he had style. Like you mentioned all the
He
clothes
did.
that you donated
Yes.
that were really really like
Yes.
tailored, Brooks
Oh,
Brothers style.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, honey, he went way past. He went to Turnbull and Asser, so forget
Yeah.
about Brooks
I-
Brothers. Think in 3D. There are some people who think in 3D. I don't think in 3D. I think in 2D. So if you
Okay.
ask me, for example, to design a process of, okay, to get something accomplished, let's do this, then let's do that, and let's do this. That's how my brain works. But 3D, which sewing is a 3D thing, because you have to factor in, how the cloth is going to drape, the size of the person, all that stuff. I just don't think in 3D. And I think it's really valuable to know how your brain processes information. So that,
Yeah, that's a good point in general. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that makes me more, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, not conducive, but I think that makes me more fluent, I guess I could say, with data,
Hmm.
because data is essentially 2D.
Yeah.
And where I need to improve, because we all need to improve, is learning how to talk about visuals, because even though visuals are also
Mm.
2D, there's almost like a 3D element to it, because
You
you have
bet.
to think about the data that you're putting into the visual. Does the visual suit that particular set of data, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, with matrix style data, you can start to push it out into more of a cubical form. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just linear, it's multi-tiered, and think about it in different ways. Especially with, like you
Exactly.
said, with all the visualization tools we have, and the way people want to visualize big data at organizations. You can get it can feel more 3D than 2D at times.
Yeah, because you're adding the element of color, of dimensionality, of
Hmm.
layering. So again, it's just something to know about yourself. And, it's not
Yeah,
that one way is wrong or another way is correct. It's just everybody's brain works differently.
I think it's fun to figure that out, especially as an analyst when you're working. Either if you're working as a consultant, so you're just meeting somebody for the first time, or if it's a business that you're working for an end user, then you know these people, like family, but just getting to know them helps you be a better analyst, in my opinion. Just even if you can do it with right out of the gate, just get to know what kind of person you're dealing with, how they perceive a project, how they perceive what they're doing, how they process, and I think it makes you a stronger analyst.
Oh, absolutely. I think it just makes you a stronger team member, no matter how you define the
Hmm.
team. Because I think one of the biggest regrets I have, is that well, first of all, when I was still a facilities manager, I worked with a team that was, that old adage that a team goes through the 4 stages. So it's forming, storming, norming, performing. I mean, we were all
Okay.
the way up at that performing level.
Hmm.
We were so effective. And
Yeah.
the reason was, and I wish I had appreciated it, and I didn't at the time. The reason was because we had people on the team who all thought differently. So everybody brought their
Mm.
perspective to the table. But
Yeah.
I didn't, and we usually were able to, because we knew each other, because we'd been working so long together, we were able to discuss, debate, chop and change until we got a finished product or a process or whatever it is we were doing, um, the way we wanted it. But it was because we had all these different ways of thinking represented. And I really wish I had done more to recognize that and honor that. And I didn't.
Mm.
And I just wasn't aware of it at the time, I guess. I don't know.
And being open, I think that's the key. You mentioned it. I mean, I've been in some type of management almost since I graduated high school. So I was this retail manager. I was a large bottled water organization manager. I was a manager at an insurance company. I've kind of had these moments, and I think looking back, I didn't think in those terms of, oh yeah, let me hear your opinion, and just kind of, I just didn't see the value in that at the time. I think the management style wasn't, I don't think people are pushing that narrative. I think it was more of a, hey, you're the boss, you get to say what people do, and that's the way it goes. You direct all this. And now I find, like you, in my later stage, working with developers and then projects with an end user, I found much better results when I listened. And you still might have to make a decision or two that makes sense from the overarching piece, but having, listening to all the opinions, and getting all the feedback, you get a much better result, a much stronger, like you said, team and project or result out of that.
Oh, 100%. So again, I recognized this gap that I had, and I had started going to the Guy in a Cube live streams. So they would do a live stream every Saturday morning, and people would jump on, and there was lots of comments, and you'd see the same people over and over again, and I, immediately supported their efforts by subscribing, et cetera, et cetera. So gradually I started to see the same names, and I thought, well, you know, I this is great, but you know, the live stream that they did was obviously geared towards the way they wanted it to go, which is totally fine. And I just was
Hmm.
like, I want something a little more, a smaller, more intimate group of people. So I started this thing called, I think I originally called it I don't know what I originally called it, but then so I invited people, and then those people started to invite people, and so we've got about a core group of about 100. And
Wow.
on any given Saturday, which is when we meet before Guy in a Cube. Even though Guy in a Cube hasn't been broadcasting recently,
Okay.
you know, I got that time slot, which was the hour before Guy in a Cube. And so we probably have on any given Saturday 15 to 20 people on there. And it's just been great. It's been great for everybody. And I will say, one of the things I love about it is even though I started it and I manage it, I'm not really considered the leader of it. You know, there's another
Mm.
woman, I don't know if you've
Yeah.
ever met, but Belinda Allen, who's a
Yeah. I know Belinda.
wonderful human being.
Hmm.
She's kind of like the den mother. And then we have a guy named Kevin Arnold who is super smart. I mean, the stuff he knows. And he's kind of
Mm.
like the den father. So you know, I think that's the mark of a successful community when the person who
Yeah.
started it is just another person in the group because
Right.
everybody has bought in, everybody is taking onus and engaged with the group. So,
Well, if
yeah.
you're the den mother and den father, it makes you like the hell raising kid that just can run
Yes,
around, do whatever they want now, and have fun.
which is basically what I was when I was a teenager. So yes, yes. But I mean, if you think about it, again, the skill set to do what I did can be very different from the skill set of nurturing people and making people feel welcome, which is what Belinda does so superbly.
Mm. Yeah.
She's such a kind person, and she just radiates that
Yep.
out. And
Yep.
I'm not particularly kind. I mean, I'm not. If I tell you something and it's a compliment, it's not because I'm kind, it's because it's true.
Mm.
But it's just so again, I just the skill set and the determination to set it up and keep it running is a different skill set than welcoming everybody, making sure people feel seen, making sure people feel heard. That's a different
Hmm.
skill set. So
What,
is
what does SML stand for? I just want to make sure
well
or maybe it stands for
now
nothing.
it now that I guess the group coined it. And oh yeah, because
Okay.
I called it the Power Study Group because I was thinking we would get together, we would read books, blah blah blah,
Mm.
and we did do that at the very beginning. But then
Hmm.
people started calling it Saturday Morning Learning, and so that
Okay.
kind of stuck. So that's how we got it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, that wasn't my naming. That was somebody in the group.
Nice.
So I'm very proud of that. I think it's amazing to me. It's amazing to me that,
Yeah.
I mean, I just started something and it's not quite a user group. I mean, it meets every week. Doesn't matter,
Hmm.
you know, like it'll maybe no one will show up, but it meets every week and the invitation is out there. Anybody who's on the invitation can start the meeting. And, you know, sometimes we have a low ebb and we don't get a lot of people. And sometimes we have a very, you know, big group. And yeah, so that is,
I think that's the fun part about community. I do a local here in Colorado, and you know, I know we want to have an impact, and I want to say, oh, the more people I know, the more people that show up and get engaged, the better sometimes the results are. But at the end of the day, if only 5 people show up, we're gonna have a great time with those 5 folks and
yeah.
enjoy it. And that's just again the fun part about just truly giving yourself up to community opportunities and without expectation.
Right. And also that you have that I think another thing that's really important for any group is that whoever started it doesn't keep a hold on it because then
Mm.
it can't grow.
And you mentioned earlier, you would have to spend a lot of time on it, but we both, been in TechFluent, which is, again, been a really fun way for me to give back. It was, we talked about it earlier, been involved in some stuff, but maybe not technical related, the local endeavors. This was one where I was like, I can give back, and it's something I'm actually good at too. And so I can give back in a way that keeps me kind of sharp and keeps me involved in technology in a way that in my daily life maybe might not get.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, TechFluent was started in 2020, I think, um, in Minnesota, by Liz McGlennon. I don't want to get her name
That's
wrong.
correct. Yeah,
Oh, good too.
you got it.
And it was her response to the George Floyd murder, and so she and I had been fellow trainers at an organization with another partner in Minnesota, and that's how I met her.
Mm,
And so when she was like, "Oh, we're going to want to teach Power BI," she reached out to me, and I was like, "Oh, yep, no problem." Because again, I always try to select a not-for-profit to do work with.
mm, yeah.
So this is going to be, I just finished my 3rd year of teaching, and we're planning for next year. And it's going to end up, I think that I'm going to end up donating about 4 weeks worth of time to the organization, because it's about 2 different groups of people in 2 different locations. But I think that doing that, first of all, again, it's my adage. I have to give back, and also if I, help other people get into the Power BI space, again, rising tide boats, all that good stuff. But it
Yep.
also makes me a better teacher, because
Mm,
if you only teach the people who are coming with all of the prerequisites, then you can be a little lazy. Okay, you can be a
sure.
little
You
lazy at
bet.
that point. And um, so a lot of times I did something similar for an organization called Year Up, and they take young adults right out of college, and they or not right out of college, right out of high school, and they prepare them. It's a year-long program, and so I taught those young folks Excel. And my principle, as far as when I talk to students, and I don't care who they are, I don't care what age they're at, I tell people you can do this. And the reason I know you can do this is because if we think about what you're doing either in Excel or in Power BI, essentially what you're doing when you get right down to it is you're slicing, you're filtering, you're adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. And whether you realize it or not, your brain does all of that automatically. I mean,
Mm,
when you walk into a grocery store and you decide that you're going to get oranges, but you're going to get, the ones that are on sale, well, you've just filtered. Okay, first you've sorted just to oranges, and then you've filtered the oranges so that you're only going to be putting into your basket the ones that are on sale. So
hmm
again, whenever you if you sort your laundry, you're doing sorting. So again, it's we don't use these terms, but we do them all day long, every single day. So
Yeah.
I really try to, and I say this about myself, and it happens to be true. It's another one of my regrets in life. I cried through every math class I ever had. And that is not an exaggeration. And
I've been there. Yeah. No,
I
I
did
hear you.
not take hard math classes, okay? But and now I look back and I just go, "Ugh, what was that about? What in the world? What in the blue blazes are you doing with yourself?" If I could go back and change one thing, it would have been to slap me silly and tell me to quit the caterwauling and just get on with it. And the reason I
Yeah.
say that is because after I'd graduated from college, and I thought I wanted to go to business school. So I was like, okay, well, I need to at least take beginning calculus, because I had never even made it to that. So I
Mm,
took it, and because of the fact that I was an adult, that I was paying, that I was, putting in my own blood, sweat, and tears. Because I had skin in the game, I figured out that for me to pass this class, I had to do all of the homework, all the extra problems at the back of the book, any extra problems the teacher could give me, because I just had to do that many so that I could understand the concept.
Yeah.
And I got 3/4 of straight A's. And it was just because I knew that I had to do that to be able to pass the class. Now, why I didn't buckle down when I was younger, oh well, that's my loss. But it's something that people bring to Power BI, and they also bring it to Excel, that they're afraid of numbers. They feel like they're not very good at math, so they're not going to be very good at this technology. And okay, in Excel, you can get some pretty complicated formulas and stuff, but in DAX,
Mhm.
in Power BI, I mean, you're usually doing some pretty basic mathematical stuff. It's much
Yeah.
more about logic. When you write a formula in DAX, which is the language that Power BI uses, really what's most important is that you understand the logic of how to write the expression.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
yes, do you need, if you want to do some crazy statistical thing, do you need that? Do you need to know how to do that? Yes. But that's the exception, I think. I don't think it's the
And
commonest scenario.
you can find that language, like you said, if you are missing the logic, that's the harder part.
Right.
Because you can,
Exactly.
if you got the logic, then you can find the language to put around it,
Yeah.
using
Using
research or,
AI.
AI. Yeah, I was gonna say you could,
Right.
but if you know the logic, if you can get, and that's a cool teaching moment to say, hey, don't worry, the foundation is already there. I'm going to show you. I'm going to pull back the curtain on your own existence and show you all
Right.
the logic you're already implementing around this, and that's going to get us to this next level pretty easily.
Yeah, I think a lot of teaching, and I never thought I never, I can't even tell. I would have told you that I'd be a ballerina faster than I would have been a teacher. Okay. Now, if anybody
That's
has
funny.
seen me, you know that I'm not built like a ballerina. Okay. I try to keep myself trim, but not by ballerina standards. So yeah, no, but again, I want to instill in people the confidence that they too can do this. And I
Mm,
tell people, and it's true, everything I teach now, I learned after the age of 50. So I don't want to hear anything about you can't learn, your
yeah.
brain is tired. What? Get away from me with that negativity. It's not true. It's not. In
And
fact,
that's been inspiring with TechFluent. These folks, their commitment to learning, at various ages, various life statuses,
yep,
their commitment and passion around learning is inspiring to me. I mean, you mentioned it earlier. I'm getting as much from these folks. My learning ears are open, and I'm learning about culture, and I'm getting myself filled up while I'm helping them work through TechFluent. So
yeah, no, that's so true. And I'm glad you brought that up because I do feel inspired by every single person that I've interacted with, every single learner at TechFluent. So I sort of got
mm-hmm.
off track there. But so basically, TechFluent organizes a cohort every year, and it's been traditionally been pulling from either underserved or people who are, at a lower income level. It's just truly inspirational to work with them. It truly is. If I was doing a highlight reel of the year, you'd be featured, friend. You would be in the
Oh,
highlight
you
reel.
too.
You'd be in the
I
highlight
appreciate
reel.
that because we definitely bonded quickly. I love it when you meet somebody and it's like, yeah, I feel like I've known you all my life somehow, but
It's
I
just
haven't.
easy.
But maybe
It's just
it's pretty
easy. And
easy. Yeah.
community is it's a big thing and it means something different for a lot of people. But let me just say, and this is interesting to me, that I have never since I've sort of moved to this sort of career space, I have never once met somebody who was selfish or a tech bro who
Mm,
didn't want to talk to women, or I've not seen that once. Now I'm sure it exists,
yeah.
but I have not seen it. And I think that's pretty
I think this is a
impressive.
pretty good community. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think this is a pretty good community for sharing and openness and willingness to just do whatever, regardless of who you are, from the longest tenured C-level technology person to the person just beginning. I think it's a pretty decent community we're in.
I think so too. And if you're in it, then it's also a stylish community, and we love that. So
Well,
you have a
I
wonderful
love you being
holiday.
on here with me.
Absolutely. All right, my friend, you have a wonderful holiday.
You too. Yep. Appreciate you being on.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye. And I do have what they call resting bee face. I definitely have that. I definitely have that. So if you approach me at a conference and I'm thinking, don't be intimidated, because that just means that I'm thinking.
I'm going to say, you're a beautiful person, inside and out, and 100%. If for some reason it looks like she's not approachable and you see her at an event, definitely approach her. She will turn in a minute, and that smile and that laugh comes out. So
yeah.